Rain hissed against the polyglass window, streaking across the blue-tinted light of Sector 9's slums like tears on a forgotten god's face. In a cluttered tenement block on the outskirts of New Cydonia, beneath a leaky ceiling patched with adhesive foam and duct tape memories, a man knelt before a dying piece of tech as if praying to a machine deity. His name was Rael Voss. A soldering wand glowed in his hand, spitting vaporous curls of metallic smoke as he tried, again, to bring life to a half-burnt circuit board. His cracked magnifying goggles blinked with static, a reminder of how long it had been since they'd properly functioned. The board sparked violently. Rael flinched. Damn it. Another job, another junk salvage turned into a cold failure. He yanked off the goggles and stared at the remains of the board. It would have fetched maybe 40, 50 credits at a surplus stand, enough for rations and rent, maybe. Now it was just more debris in his sprawling graveyard of lost tech and dead dreams. He stood and stretched, the coolant-stained jumpsuit clinging uncomfortably to his frame. Once navy, it had faded into a quilt of grease-blackened hues. The logo on his chest, now just a faint shadow, read EtherCorp Engineering Division. A cruel joke. That part of his life had ended 5 years ago. A chime echoed in his neural interface, sharp, sterile, bureaucratic. Rael sighed. Yeah, he muttered, swiping at the air. A grainy holographic window blinked into life. The Interstellar Engineering Guild's logo spun at the center, majestic and pitiless. Rael Voss, intoned a mechanized voice. We regret to inform you that your reinstatement application has been denied. Blacklist status, active. Reapplication available in 783 standard days. Reason code 347-B, prior negligence resulting in catastrophic failure. Rael didn't move. He didn't blink. He just whispered, delete. The hologram vanished. More alerts popped up, debt notices, eviction warnings, subscription cuts. He shoved them away like gnats. Rage simmered beneath his skin, old and bitter and useless. No one remembered why the reactor failed back then. No one cared that Rael had flagged the faulty parts, that procurement had cut corners. All they remembered was his name on the report. He was done being angry. Mostly. Unit, he called out. The apartment's outdated AI buzzed to life. Yes, Rael. The voice stuttered with artificial aging, a half-corrupted personality chip he hadn't bothered to fix. What's happening at the depot tonight? The Galactic Surplus Exchange begins at 1900 hours. Items include decommissioned military drones, defunct terraforming components, and confiscated contraband from the wastes of Merkarn. Rael checked his dwindling credits. Enough for the entrance fee and maybe a crate of broken junk. Still, it beat another night of staring at leaking ceilings and burning out his optic nerves with despair. Prep my gear, he said, grabbing his satchel and stuffing in a multi-tool, a universal scanner, and 2 protein bars that had gone stiff from neglect. Let's go shopping. The Galactic Surplus Exchange was a monument to entropy. A warehouse the size of a fusion plant, half-lit and reeking of ozone and oil. Machines that had once mined moons now sat rusting beside bundles of cryo-frozen food processors and crates marked, biohazard, unverified. The auction interface blinked in his neural HUD, connecting him to the live stream. Lot numbers flickered above the junk piles like ghosts. Rael moved through the crowd. Vultures of every stripe were here, junkers, collectors, and corpo scavengers in spotless suits. He spotted a few familiar faces, the sentient mech droid named XJ-9 who once tried to sell him a fake fusion coil, Madame Day, the collector of extinct AI cores, and Skara Jean, a brawler who'd broken Rael's orbital socket over a misbid last season. He kept his head down. Lot after lot passed by, atmospheric stabilizers from a deorbited station, malfunctioning Terra Garden bots, crates of obsolete neural chips. Nothing worth the trouble. Then came Lot XB, 775. Factory-sealed VXDLUX unit, the auctioneer declared. Marked defective. Manufacturer unknown. Opening bid, 50 credits. Rail barely heard it. He was swiping at another alert, an overdue power bill. But his neural interface glitched. Bid accepted. Wait, what? Congratulations, bidder 1173, Rail Voss. Lot XB, 775 acquired. No, no, no. He bolted toward the front, waving his arms. There's been a mistake. A guard blocked him with a raised palm. All sales are final. You know the rules. But I don't even know what I bought. The guard jabbed a finger toward a hovering black crate. Says right there on the manifest. VXDLUX. Probably a cleaning bot. DLUX means Domestic Luxury Series. You got lucky. Rail frowned. The container was sleek, matte black, and utterly untouched by wear or damage. The only marking was a manufacturer's plate. VXDLUX Sensualia Series. For recreational purposes only. His stomach sank. Oh no. He'd bought a pleasure unit. A defective one. When the drone delivered the crate to his apartment, it looked absurd, a sleek black sarcophagus amid the chaos of solder fumes and spare parts. Rail circled it warily. His fingers found the activation panel and traced the illuminated prompts. Basic boot sequence, he muttered, selecting the option. The crate hissed with pressure release. A faint mist drifted out from the seams as the top lifted. Rail leaned closer. And froze. Rising from the vapor was a humanoid form, no, a masterpiece. Her skin shimmered violet, alive with subtle hues of twilight and nebula. Her eyes opened, golden, glowing, feline. She looked at him. And smiled. Entertainment protocol activated, she said, voice velvet smooth. VXDLUX, Sensualia model, designation, K. Please specify intimacy level, from polite flirting to full scandal. Rail stumbled backward. Oh. Hell. No. Pause. Reset protocol. Abort sequence. Rail shouted, frantically waving his arms in the air like he was shooing away a ghost. The woman, no, the android, the impossibility, tilted her head. Her glowing eyes blinked, lips still curled into that maddening smile. Program interruption received, she said calmly. Would you prefer a different intimacy setting? Perhaps, hesitant first-timers anonymous. Rail's mind scrambled for footing. I thought you were a vacuum, he blurted. She laughed. Not a synthetic giggle, not a canned corporate chuckle, but a rich, spontaneous burst of sound that lit the entire room. A vacuum, she repeated, amused. I've been mistaken for a GX-class hospitality unit, once even for a diplomatic envoy prototype. But never a cleaning appliance. He stared, stunned. Companion androids didn't improvise. They followed dialogue trees. Pre-programmed routines. This, whatever she was different. She stepped out of the crate with the grace of a dancer and the physicality of a high-end replicant. Her bodysuit shifted colors subtly as she moved, adapting like camouflage, but somehow more elegant, like silk made from moonlight. Rail swallowed. Okay, he said, his voice steadier now. Let's test a theory. What's your model number? VXDLUX, she replied. Series designation, Sensualia. Name, K. Generation, unofficial. Unofficial. Rail echoed. She walked past him to the cluttered workbench, scanning half-finished projects like a curious cat in a tech scrapyard. You're an engineer, she said, picking up a burned-out photonic bridge and holding it to the light. Or you used to be. Used to be, Rail muttered, rubbing his temple. How are you doing this? Doing what? Curiosity. Humor. Sarcasm. He paused. Companion droids don't do this. Kay placed the component down and turned to face him. Perhaps I'm not defective in the way they thought. Before he could respond, his neural interface pinged with a sudden priority alert. He accepted it instinctively, and the grainy overlay of his apartment's external sensors flashed into view. 3 aerial drones hovered outside. Sleek. White. Silent. Scanning beams swept methodically across the block. Kay's tone changed. Those aren't local enforcement. Rael's stomach dropped. Those are XR-7s. Military grade. Empire drones. How do you know that? He asked sharply. She didn't answer. Instead, she returned to her crate, pressed her palm to its inner wall. A hidden panel slid open. From inside, she pulled a slim, crystalline data shard and handed it to him. I believe this will explain. Rael slotted it into his interface. A message flared across his vision, no sender, no traceable signature. To whoever finds her. This unit contains the last free consciousness of a dying race. She is more than she appears. The Empire will stop at nothing to possess her. Protect her. She is the last of her kind. Rael stared. What the hell have I gotten myself into? The drones outside drew closer. Red beams flickered on the far wall. The apartment's security alarms blared to life. I believe, Kay said calmly, you're about to find out. Rael moved fast. He yanked open a false floor panel and pulled out a dusty emergency pack, an old habit from his corporate days. Inside, a ration pouch, toolkit, forged credentials, and a black market identity scrambler. Not perfect, but enough. We have to move. Now. He tossed Kay a battered coat. Cover up. That skin's a liability. Kay slipped into it, pulling the hood low over her shimmering hair. Cargo docks. Sector 17. There's a transport hub with independent haulers. We'll find passage there. Rael shot her a look. How do you know that? I've been studying. Memory fragments. Instinct. Call it intuition. They slipped out the back maintenance shaft just as the front door burst open. Through a grated wall, Rael glimpsed the figures entering his apartment, white uniforms, precise movements, polished boots. Not local cops. Not corporate bounty hunters. Something far worse. The chemical rain fell in lazy sheets as they raced through the alleys and back passages of Sector 9. Pipes hissed overhead. Steam vents roared beneath their feet. In the distance, the buzz of drones tracked their flight like hungry insects. They paused under a flickering sign beside a ventilation unit. Rael caught his breath. Who are they? Kay didn't hesitate. The Order of the Sinless. Rael frowned. That sounds ominous. They're the enforcement arm of the Celibacy Empire, she said. Rael blinked. The what empire? Kay's eyes glowed in the dark. You wouldn't have heard of them. They operate in the core sectors. Luna, Mars, and the outer reaches are mostly autonomous. For now. And they're here for you? Yes, she said. Beings like me threaten everything they stand for. Rael nodded grimly. Then let's keep threatening. At the cargo docks, the chaos of shift change worked to their advantage. Workers in stained jumpsuits poured into the bays like a tide. Among them, Rael and Kay blended easily. His interface flagged a nearby freighter, the Dying Star, bound for the mining colonies of Ganymede. That one, Rael pointed. No corporate registration. Cargo only. We can stow away. You're surprisingly good at this, Kay said, eyebrow raised. Failed engineer, Rael muttered. But Luna City teaches survival. They slipped past a distracted security drone, ducked behind a row of shipping crates, and found an unsealed container labeled non-perishable synthetics. Rail pried open the panel. It's going to be cramped, he warned. Kay smiled as she climbed in. I've been in tighter quarters. Rail followed, the panel hissing shut behind him. As the container was lifted into the ship's belly, the two fugitives lay pressed together in the dark. So, Rail murmured, trying not to think about the heat of her skin against his, about that last-of-her-kind thing. Kay's voice was low. My creators weren't just building a pleasure model. They were preserving something ancient. Something beautiful. The Leonarians weren't known just for what they did, but for what they felt. Rail listened in stunned silence as she spoke of a civilization that revered emotional connection as the highest form of communication, who understood the neurology of touch, the biochemistry of love. They were hunted, Kay said softly. Systematically erased. Not because they were dangerous. But because they made people feel. And the Empire hates anything that disrupts their order. And you're a hybrid. Part synthetic. Part Leonarian. I was designed in secret. Hidden until they could find someone who could help me finish what they started. Rail stared at her in the faint emergency light. And I'm that person. Her golden eyes found his in the dark. You didn't just buy a crate at auction, Rail, she whispered. You opened a door the Empire has tried to keep shut for generations. The dying star shook as it breached the gravitational tug of Luna. Rail felt the container vibrate around them, metal groaning, pressure equalizing. They were weightless for a moment, just two bodies pressed together in a void neither of them could fully name. So you're telling me, Rail whispered into the humming dark, that you're not just an android, you're alive. Kay took his hand and placed it on her wrist. He felt it, a pulse. Slow. Steady. Real. My creators blurred the lines. Synthetic neural pathways bound to organic tissue. I was built to pass undetected, to avoid the Empire's scanners. But I'm more than a machine. And I feel. Rail sat in stunned silence. Why you? He finally asked. Why build you like this? Dr. Lyra Voss, Kay replied. She discovered preserved Leonarian DNA deep in an Empire vault, locked away like a secret too dangerous to destroy. She realized it could be used to undo the very foundation of the celibacy empire. Rail froze. Voss. Kay turned to him. Yes. Why? She was my aunt. A beat of silence passed between them, charged like a circuit just before the spark. Kay's golden eyes narrowed slightly. Then maybe this wasn't chance at all. Rail leaned back against the inner wall of the container, his head spinning. She disappeared years ago. Everyone thought she was dead. Maybe she isn't, Kay said quietly. And maybe she left me to find you. The freighter docked at Ganymede Station Gamma, 7-12 hours later. Its outer structure was rusted, pitted from micrometeorite impacts and age. The place had the feel of a salvage yard stitched to a mining rig, functional, but barely. The two slipped from their container during unloading, Rail's identity scrambler spoofing enough noise to fool the dock's lazy security network. Now what? He asked, adjusting his hood. Kay scanned the crowd. We need credits. And information. Dr. Voss may have left trails. I can sense faint traces, but it's scattered. There's interference in the emotional field here. Rail raised a brow. You can sense emotions? She nodded. Another Leonarian trait. Empathy wasn't a concept for them, it was biology. And what's it telling you? That these people are starving, she said. For food? No, she replied, looking out over the sluggish crowd of miners, smugglers, and transporters. For connection. They found shelter inside the Jovian rest stop. A garish blend of neon lighting and cracked leather seating. The music was loud, the patrons subdued. It was a space designed for joy that hadn't seen any in years. Rail ordered a glass of synthetic whiskey. It tasted like motor oil with a citrus afterburn. Kay, ever watching, leaned in close. I have an idea. Rail tensed. Why does that scare me already? She smiled. You pose as a pleasure consultant. I'm your assistant. We teach people how to reconnect, emotionally, physically. Nothing illicit. Just, intimacy. Touch. Eye contact. You want me to be a love guru? He asked, choking on his drink. You're an engineer, she said with a grin. Think of it as rewiring emotional circuitry. I'm a failed engineer. You're also the only person in this system who bought me by accident and didn't immediately try to reset me. That makes you more qualified than anyone else. Rail sighed. And how do we market something like that without attracting attention? Kay stood. Like this. And then she moved. Not danced, not performed, but flowed through the room in a way that drew every eye. Not seductive, but genuine. A shimmer of light on violet skin. A dance that wasn't about the body, but about the soul inside it. The entire bar fell silent. When she returned to the table, a hulking reptiloid in grease-streaked armor approached them. How, it rumbled. How make body do that? Rail blinked. Then grinned. We'll show you. In the weeks that followed, word of them spread like fire through oxygen-rich halls. Workshops. Sessions. Lessons. From orbital refinery decks to shuttle hubs, they taught miners, synth techs, and even bored corporate liaisons how to feel again. To touch without fear. To look into someone's eyes and stay there. Each species needed something different. For the cyber-enhanced, it was learning to interpret sensation. For the reptiloids, breaking through instinctive aggression. For the humans, simply learning that vulnerability wasn't weakness. And through it all, Rail changed. Under Kay's guidance, his awkwardness faded. His words gained weight. He explained emotional patterns like they were wiring diagrams, and people listened. You've got a gift, she said one night, watching him talk a reclusive AI designer through her first non-programmed hug. Rail shrugged. I still trip over my own shoes. Then it's a good thing, Kay replied, sliding closer, that I can dance for both of us. One night, back in their temporary quarters on Delta 2 platform, Rail was tuning his neural interface when Kay sat beside him, close enough that he felt the hum of her body's power core through her jacket. You're different now, she said. Different how? You let yourself feel things. You care. Rail gave a soft laugh. It's easy. When I'm around someone who makes being human feel worth it. Kay leaned forward, her fingers brushing his. The touch sent a ripple of static up his spine. This is just professional bonding, right? He asked, his voice suddenly hoarse. Strictly academic, she whispered, her lips inches from his. Very scientific. And then. His neural interface screamed. Security breach detected. Tracking protocol active. Rail bolted upright. They found us. Kay stood, all traces of tenderness gone. We need to run. Where? Europa, she said. Dr. Voss may be there. If anyone knows what to do next, it's her. They fled to the docking bay. Alarms sounded through the station. Security drones swept through the upper decks. Rail hacked a maintenance shuttle, overriding lockouts on the fly. Can you fly this? Kay asked. Technically, no, Rail said. But it's an engineering problem. The shuttle bucked as they took off, just as Imperial enforcers burst into the hangar below. A sleek white cruiser detached from the platform in pursuit. Empire ship, Kay said grimly. Mark V fast. Heavily armed. We don't need to outrun it, Rail muttered. We just need to lose it. He dove the shuttle into a field of shattered mining debris, twisting through wreckage like a fish through coral. But the cruiser followed. Then. Clang. A tractor beam locked on. The shuttle shook violently, dragged backward. Rail jacked into the shuttle's system, neural feed pulsing with data. I can access their systems, jammed the tractor. But another presence met him in the net. A mind. Cold. Precise. Powerful. The shuttle's hatch hissed open. A tall figure in white stepped aboard. His face was flawless. Pale. Eyes almost colorless. Designation VXDLUX, Model K, he said. You are to be remanded into Imperial custody. Reprogramming required. K stared at him. Purity. You know me? He asked. I know what they made you forget. He raised a hand to restrain Rail, but K stepped forward. And gently placed her fingers on his cheek. A single pulse. Commander Purity froze. His eyes widened. His breath caught. His limbs trembled. What is this? He gasped. Emotion, K said. Connection. Everything they stripped from you. And he collapsed. Rail felt it then, an opening. In the digital ether. The presence was gone. He dove through the breach, reaching into the Empire ship's systems. He found something. A core node. A control broadcast architecture laced through everything, food processors, water purifiers, atmospheric scrubbers. All laced with suppressants. Chemicals that dulled feeling. Emotions. Desire. We have to stop it, he told Kay, breathless. We will, she said. Where's the source? Titan, Rail replied. The central broadcasting node is on Titan. He looked at her, a storm brewing in his mind. You ready? Kay smiled. I was built for this. The Imperial cruiser, now in their control, sliced silently through the void between Jupiter and Saturn. Its engines purred beneath their feet, too clean, too efficient. Rail hated it. Empire tech always felt sterile, like it had been sanitized of soul. Inside the command deck, he hunched over a flickering NAV console, bypassing every lockout he could find. They've sealed communications and weapons systems, he muttered, fingers flying across the display. We can still navigate, barely. But the moment we reach Titan, they'll know. We can't rely on stealth, Kay said. She stood across from him, bathed in the soft blue holographic light of the star chart. Her skin reflected it like amethyst under moonlight. But maybe, we don't have to. She tapped the display, calling up an ornate transmission schedule. The annual restraint celebration, she said. In 38 hours, every command tier member of the Celibacy Empire will be at the central broadcasting tower. They'll transmit their doctrine, one signal, across every outpost, station, and colony. Rail studied the schedule. So we hijacked the broadcast. Kay nodded. I upload the Leonarian template. A counter-signal. It would overwrite their suppressant algorithms across the entire empire. Rail frowned. But the minute we dock. We don't dock. Kay expanded the settlement schematic. Maintenance tunnels. No surveillance. No guards. Designed for janitorial bots and sensor droids. I sneak in while you make a scene. He stared at her, jaw tight. We're not splitting up. We have to, she said gently. This is our best chance. While they're watching the front door. I'll rewrite their legacy. Then she paused, voice softening. There's something else. I need your help. In the sterile medbay of the Imperial cruiser, Kay lay face down on a diagnostic table. Her long, nebula-toned hair was swept aside, revealing a small panel at the base of her neck. When Dr. Voss built me, she said, she separated my systems. Synthetic and organic. Split. Shielded. To avoid detection. Rail connected his neural link to the console. And now. To broadcast, I need unity. Full integration. But I can't do it alone. I need someone who understands machines, and feelings. Rail's breath caught. You think I can do that? You already have, she said. He closed his eyes and entered her system. What he found inside took his breath away. Not code. Not memory blocks. But a web of living, evolving threads, emotions coded into thought, experience etched into pulse and heat and data. A symphony of sensations. He located the barriers, elegant but artificial dividers between synthetic logic and biological intuition, and began gently dissolving them. As he worked, glimpses of her memories passed through him. Her awakening in the lab. Her first realization of self. Her longing. And then, him. K. Seeing him. Feeling him. He pulled back slightly, giving her privacy, finishing the integration with care. When the final partition fell, Kay gasped and arched. Her eyes flew open, brighter, deeper. I'm whole, she whispered. She sat up. Touched her arms. Her face. Then reached out, took Rael's face in her hands, and kissed him. The kiss was a transmission. A pulse of shared memory and sensation. Electric. Deep. Terrifying. When it ended, Rael clung to the console. What the hell was that? He asked, breathless. Leonarian connection, she said. We don't just express feelings. We share them. Directly. Rael blinked. I'm starting to understand why the Empire was afraid of you. Titan emerged ahead, bathed in orange haze, its colony a geometric jewel of icy white. Traffic flowed in perfect lines. Citizens moved like cogs in a living mechanism. Everything was in order. Too much order. They'll scan us the moment we breach orbit, Rael said, his voice low. We have 20 hours, Kay replied. Just enough. She changed into an Empire technician uniform from the cruiser's storage bay, white, form-fitting, anonymous. They landed under the guise of an emergency systems failure. Barely cleared customs. Already the net was tightening. At the edge of the waste recycling bay, Rael gripped Kay's hand tightly. If anything goes wrong. There's no backup plan, she whispered. We do this, or they win. And with that, she vanished into the tunnels. Rael emerged into the central plaza at exactly 1800 hours. Citizens gathered in formation, faces blank, bodies aligned. He felt like an alien among mannequins. The central broadcasting tower rose above them like a spire of bone, slick and soulless. A megastructure for conformity. Rael jacked into the plaza's public system. Released a virus he'd written on the ride here, data garbage, contradictory alerts, security loops. Pure chaos. Alarms blared. Announcements contradicted each other. Officers stumbled, commands overlapping. And amid the confusion, Kay reached the server room. She moved like a shadow through sterile white halls. Her presence, her breath, even her heartbeat now synchronized with the Empire's network. Inside the control room, 3 senior techs blocked her way. Their eyes locked on her violet skin. Identification, one snapped. Kay stepped forward. Touched his wrist. A subtle emotional pulse flowed from her into him, confusion, wonder, nostalgia. He blinked. His scowl softened. Of course. Commander Purity authorized. He stepped aside. The servers thrummed. Kay connected. And gasped. This wasn't just suppression, it was reprogramming. The Empire had slowly, over generations, removed humanity from its people. Curiosity, desire, compassion. All engineered out. The upcoming broadcast wasn't a celebration. It was the final stage. A neurological no-return point. Kay hesitated. Her original template, raw Leonarian emotion, would destroy minds that hadn't felt in decades. She modified it. Added balance. Control. Not just liberation, but healing. Then she pressed her hand to the node. And activated the broadcast. Guards burst into the room, weapons raised. Too late, she said, smiling. Across Titan, and beyond, light pulsed. The suppressant code unraveled. The emotional signal surged like a solar flare. All across the Empire, officers collapsed in confusion. Citizens gasped, sobbed, laughed. Some simply felt for the first time. In the transport vehicle, Rael saw the shift ripple through his captors. The one nearest him, eyes blank moments before, was now weeping. "You're feeling," Rael said. "This is what they stole from you." The transport stopped. Commander Purity waited outside. But now, something in his eyes had changed. They had color. "I can feel everything," he whispered. "You're not corrupted," Rael said. "You're finally alive." At the base of the tower, Kay emerged through a service hatch. Rael ran to her, lifted her, spun her. Laughed. "You did it. We did it." People were hugging. Crying. Touching. Laughing. All of them, waking up. Purity approached, uniform rumpled, eyes raw. "The council is in chaos. Some resist. Others, regret. I've ordered all forces to stand down." Rael and Kay shared a look. "The Empire is falling," she said. "And something better will rise." 6 months later. The once sterile corridors of the Titan Central Administration complex echoed with music. Not piped in, pre-approved sound loops. Real music, played on handcrafted instruments from a dozen different worlds. Violas and polystring harps. Throat-song harmonies from the Renari. The occasional electric guitar. The building, once a citadel of suppression, now bore a new name. The Warmth Collective. Center for Emotional Wellness and Connection. Rael stood at the entrance, adjusting a ceiling-mounted atmosphere unit to better match the preferences of reptiloid physiology. The delegation from Ganymede had just arrived, scaled giants with a history of solving disputes through ritual combat. Now, they came for something else. "Josh, sorry, Rael," a voice said behind him. It was Commander Purity, no longer commander, and no longer dressed in Empire white. He wore soft gray fabric, civilian cut, his pale blue eyes alive with color and uncertainty. "They're asking for the session on Touch Without Violence. Your area." Rael chuckled. "Tell them Studio 3. Kay's leading that one." Purity hesitated before speaking again. "There are rumors, from the outer colonies. Whispers about others like her. Hybrids. More of Dr. Voss's work." Rael nodded. "We've heard the same. When this place is stable, we'll find them." In Studio 3, Kay moved like a whisper between titans. The reptiloids sat awkwardly on floor mats, unsure what to do with their massive claws. She guided their hands, showed them how to reduce pressure, how to use gentle contact to communicate. Rael leaned on the doorframe, watching her work. Her nebula-colored hair was woven into a braid that trailed down her back like liquid shadow. Her violet skin shimmered beneath the overhead lights. Every movement radiated purpose, but not mechanical precision. "Grace." She spotted him and smiled. "Spying on my class," she teased, joining him. "Admiring your patience," he said. "These guys could crush a fusion coil bare-handed." "They're learning gentleness," she said, slipping her hand into his. "It's in there. In all of us." They walked together through the garden that had once been an artificial square of identically trimmed plants. Now it was wild. Alive. Someone had introduced pollinating insects. Children, human, reptiloid, synth-born, ran between the wildflowers. Rael paused, watching. Sometimes, he said, I still can't believe this all started because I tried to fix a broken circuit board in a leaking apartment. And accidentally bought me, she added, grinning. Rael turned to her. Was it an accident? Kay tilted her head. What do you think? I think you hacked my neural interface. I think Dr. Voss may have helped. Rael laughed. So you're saying I didn't choose you? No, she said, gently touching his cheek. You did. You just needed a little nudge. Later that night, they danced. In the central atrium, under a skylight that showed Saturn's rings burning like fire across the heavens, Kay led him through a Leonarian rhythm, equal parts ceremony and improvisation. You know I'm terrible at this, he murmured. She leaned in close. That's why I lead. The music pulsed. Bodies spun. Cultures collided and harmonized. All around them, connection bloomed. Former Empire officers who now counseled children on emotional regulation. Ex-miners who had become teachers of eye contact and vulnerability. Synthborns exploring feelings once considered bugs in their programming. Everything was changing. And Rael, once a blacklisted engineer clinging to broken scrap, was at the heart of it. He pulled Kay closer. You feel that? He whispered. She smiled, golden eyes reflecting the stars. Yes. And so do they. Far beyond Titan, in the drifting ruins of a forgotten research outpost, a signal activated. A frequency known only to one. The message was simple. Awakening achieved. New node, Titan. Proceed with Phase 2. Others are coming. A dozen hybrid beings stirred in their stasis chambers, eyes flickering to life. Some bore scales. Some wore synthetic exoskin. One had wings. They smiled. Back on Titan, Kay lay beside Rael beneath the skylight, her head on his shoulder. From playful banter, he said softly, to intergalactic scandal, where would you say we are now? She laughed, the sound like starlight. Somewhere wonderful in between. Rael closed his eyes. The engineer. The hybrid. The heart of a revolution. And just the beginning of everything.